Hello, everyone, and welcome to our celebration of Yom Kippur. We're actually live in several places right now, so thank you so much for watching. I'm Zion, Bride of Christ, and I'm going to be talking about things that are very pertinent to Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a day of repentance and going back to God and having a great relationship with Him. And today we're going to be talking about the word abomination. Yep, it's a pretty heavy word because it's used a lot of times in the Bible for something that God absolutely hates. It's it connotes that sort of horrible thing that we don't like. I'd like to give you an idea of how it is. Think of somebody um, pooping and then getting their poop and then putting it on you and you're like, ah, gross, right? And you're not just grossed out, but you're even scared of how dirty it is, right? That's an abomination. And let's say, what are you going to do about it? You're going to take off your shirt, you're going to disinfect your whole shoulder with alcohol just to make sure, or wash it a couple of times just to make sure that there's absolutely no trace of that poop. And that, my friends, is an abomination to God. That is how we should be treating anything that is an abomination. Okay, so let's list down what it says in the Bible what an abomination is. Okay, so I'm gonna try to number it, but one, something that is the great abomination. That's why I'm starting with this, is because it is the only time in the Bible that God says this is a great abomination. Okay, He adds the word great. Why? Because these people were worshiping Tammuz, and Tammuz is a deity in that area of the desert from Israel where he Tammuz died, and the culture of worship would be to mourn for Tammuz, and the Israelites were mourning for Tammuz, and this was an abomination to God. So the belief of Tammuz is that he died, and for 3 days he stayed on earth, under the earth, and then was resurrected after. And upon the resurrection, then it's happy. But the main thing was the mourning for Tammuz, which was an abomination to God. The second thing that is a great abomination is the worshiping of sun gods, because God was very clear about it. You shall not worship any host of heaven. And that includes anything in the earth, anything in the sky, anything besides Him. Okay, so if you can imagine, if you were an inventor of, let's say, the tornado mop. I really don't know who invented the tornado mop, but if you do, leave your comment and let us know, because I really don't know. But let's say you did invent it, and then another person is taking credit for it on TV and everything, and everyone's clapping for them. And you worked 7 years of your life for this, and you invested your money in it, and then they're the ones who are taking all the credit. Of course, you're gonna be a bit mad, and you would want just what's right, right? Just what's fair, and you would want the truth to come out. And so it's kind of like that with God. He created heaven and earth, and He was the true origin of everything that is. And so if we're gonna worship something else for something that He did, it's really an insult to His majesty and His truth, right? So that's why this is a great abomination. Okay, so number two. Now this is a heavy one, and I'm gonna say it because I don't know how long you're gonna stay here and watch, but I hope you watch till the end because it gets better in the end. There's a surprise, okay? So basically, in Proverbs 17:15, it says, He who justifies the wicked and condemns the righteous, both are an abomination to Jehovah. So Jehovah is the name of God, and basically he says just one of these things is enough to be an abomination. If you justify the wicked, what does that mean? You know that they're doing something wrong and you're like, yeah, it's okay, because it's not okay. If somebody is killing babies and you're like, yeah, it's their right, that makes you an abomination. And I'm really sorry, but I'm just reading this, okay? I didn't make this up. This is thousands of years old, and it was passed on from us to us from God, right? And it also says that if you condemn the righteous, meaning the person's doing right, he's trying to bring other people to righteousness, and you're saying, no, this person's blah blah blah, you're condemning them, then you are also an abomination. So you gotta be straight up careful, and you have to also know what is right and wrong so that you can support the right people. And then you have to know that the wicked have to be stopped and not justified, right? There are a lot of people who justify doing bad things for in the name of freedom of speech or freedom of their rights. But as in the case of, let's say, abortion, a woman's freedom ends when another life's freedom is curtailed. So the child's right to live ended because of what someone else did. And so that is actually the main definition of our rights, that we are given rights so that we can live at peace with each other. But if your freedom means killing someone, not just someone, but your own child, not just your own child, but your family, because you're not ready, or because this is your right, or you're defending feminism or whatever ism there is, it is still at its crux, at its center, murder, right? So, so it is an abomination to justify that, to say, no, it's okay, because it's not okay. And evil permeates in society when everyone thinks it's okay when it's wrong, right? So the third one, I didn't make this up, guys. This is actually what it says, right? Okay, so the third one, dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord, but an accurate weight is his delight. Now, this might be like, who uses scales? Like people in the marketplace, people in farms, people who measure out the grains and give percentages of profits. But this is actually very generally applied to all businesses, right? If you are a business owner, are you applying fair wages? Are you applying the laws of the land and giving your employees what they need? The PhilHealth, the benefits that they have. Now, if you are a rich person and you have thousands of employees and you're like, no, I'm helping thousands, but are the scales honest? Are you giving them, for example, the benefits of long-term employment, or are they all contractual so you don't have to pay them long-term benefits? Because what happens there with just as any dishonest scale is you're actually robbing that person of what is their rightful share. And no one can see this, but God sees, right? So think about it. Whatever you have in business should be fair and just. Why? Because it's very basic. You want to be treated how you treat others, right? So I just flipped it up there, because if you treat others nicely, then you would be treated like that as well, okay? You can explain it on your own way, but basically, for me, I feel better when I treat people well, and I also expect that same, kindness and goodness, right? So, okay. So anyway, okay, so basically, The scales are just a representation of how fair you should treat any person that you're dealing with in any business. And if you know and you're like, oh, I feel something, I feel that little tinge of guilt, then you need to make amends in restitution or in charity or in something else that you can do. But don't just have restitution and continue in that way. No, you have to stop. As soon as you're aware of the sin, you have to stop and rectify the situation. Remember that wealth is one thing that people find as a source of their confidence and their security. But the true security is doing what's right, because it allows you to have a clean conscience. It allows you to sleep better at night. It allows you God's blessings, which will be full and complete and without trouble with them. So as long as you can do what's right, it's going to be so much better. Now, the third abomination is all the sexual relations with, well, I want to say all of them, but at its gist, the third abomination is sexual relations with family, animals, and men as men. So these things are a no-no. How serious are they? I'm going to read it to you. It says, you must not expose the nakedness of your father by having sexual relations with your mother. Okay, she is your mother. You must not have sexual relations with her. You must not have sexual relations with your father's wife. It would dishonor your father. That's your mother, ew. You must not have sexual relations with your sister, either your father's daughter or mother's daughter, whether she was born in your house or elsewhere. So that's wrong too. You must not have sexual relations with your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter. Your daughter's daughter is your grandchild. That would be shame on your family. You must not have sexual relations with the daughters of your father's wife, born to your father. She is your sister. You must not have sexual relations with your father's sister. That's your aunt. That's disgusting. It's an abomination. You must not have sexual relations with your mother's sister. That's also your aunt. She is your mother's close relative. You must not dishonor your father's brother by approaching his wife to have sexual relations with her. She is your aunt. Yeah, she is your aunt. You must not have sexual relations with your daughter-in-law. So even if like your son had a wife and you're not related by blood, it's still, well, an abomination, and you're not to have sexual relations with her. You must not have sexual relations with your brother's wife, because that would be shame on your brother as well. You must not have sexual relations with both the woman and her daughter. You are not to marry her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter. So once you marry a woman, you can't marry their daughter or son. That's disgusting also, right? They are close relatives and it is depraved. So they don't use abomination, but later in the end, I'll show you where they say abomination. You must not take your wife's sister as a rival wife and have sexual relations with her while your wife is still alive. So that would be totally hard for your wife if you married her sister as well, right? This is during the time when you were married, allowed to marry more than one person, right? So you must not approach a woman to have sexual relations with her during her menstrual period. So even if a woman has her menstrual period, you are not supposed to do anything to her. That is an abomination. And I know that nowadays a lot of people joke about it being okay, but this is a regulation of the Lord. Okay, so you must not lie carnally with your neighbor's wife and defile yourself with her. So yeah, because it's someone else's wife, right? You must not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Molech, for you must not profane the name of your God. I am Yahweh. So basically, he's saying, because there was some confusion in the Bible when some people thought that by sacrificing their children, that is something that God had wanted, right? And here it actually makes it clear. God says, don't sacrifice your children to Molech, not me. I am Yahweh. So he says Jehovah. So if you follow Jehovah, he and his regulation is do not sacrifice your children. Okay, because it might get mixed, and I know because in some of the Ugartic religions and some of the religions there from that area, they've already like mixed the Bible with some stories or like some beliefs and some customs that you might think that Yahweh is bad. No, Yahweh is good. Well, according to this, right? This is regulation, and he says his name just so you can identify what exactly his rule is. Also, it says here, you must not lie with a man as with a woman. That is an abomination. So, out of all of this, right, these are all not allowed, but it is specifically noted that lying with a man as like a woman is an abomination. It and is the same line as you must not lie carnally with any animal, thus defiling yourself with it. So if you lay with an animal, you defile yourself. And if you lay with a man as with a woman, it is an abomination. A woman must not stand before an animal to mate with it. That is a perversion. So that's another word. Do not defile yourself by any of these practices, for by all these things the nations I am driving out before you have defiled themselves. Even the land has become defiled, so I am punishing it for its sin, and the land will vomit out its inhabitants. So this is actually a very existential phrase that God is saying. He's saying that by these actions, even the land, the earth, the 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 physical things will vomit out its inhabitants. Okay, so you're to keep the statutes and ordinances and not commit any of these abominations. So all of these sexual acts with family, with animals, with as homosexuals, and for women with period, those are abominations. Neither you nor your native born, neither the foreigner who lives among you. For men who were in the land before you committed these abominations, and the land became defiled. So if you defile the land, it will vomit you out, just as it has spewed out the nations before you. Therefore, anyone who commits these abominations must be cut off from among his people. Okay, so that's the rule. That's the third. I just put all the sexual things on that. Number 3. And number 4, you're not allowed to marry the daughter of a foreign god. So this is actually, I have to say, this is actually for the chosen one. I don't know what it means for me, but Israel and Jerusalem is not supposed to marry the daughter of a foreign god, and Judah has profaned the Lord's beloved sanctuary by marrying the daughter of a foreign god. So it's a sin for Judah. I don't know, but it hasn't happened yet, so I'm not going to mention it. Okay, here are more specific, realistic things that, because not everyone does all those grave abominations, but here are some abominations that God also dislikes. So it's also disgusting to God. So the fourth are haughty eyes. Now, what are haughty eyes? They're eyes that think they are superior to the other people and judge others, right? Not in a way that believes that they're actually better than them, right? And it's really annoying to see that the haughty eyes of people, right? Because they can't see the truth, and the truth is that we're all children of God. We all are valuable and special, and there's really no reason that anyone should have pride and think themselves better than other people. So there's really no reason that anyone should have pride and think of themselves better than other people, because we're all children of God. Okay, so the fifth abomination is a false tongue, which is lying. 6. I mean, that's basic. A lot of people think that lying is okay when it's like small things, but that is kind of like a gateway drug. Like, you start thinking it's okay, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're you're addicted to some major meth or something. But basically, don't even start it. What I do is I only say what is completely true, and this also allows my word to have power, and this allows me to have integrity and feel good about everything that I do, because I'm aligned with my whole self, right? So when you're aligned with your whole self, you can have a clear conscience, you can be joyful, and it starts with being truthful. And you'll know, because then, even if you just displayed like an emotion that isn't really what you feel, it kind of already grates at you, so that you become like super authentic in anything that you do. And that's actually a great thing, because you're free. You're free of worry and anxiety, and you can live and enjoy life the way it's supposed to go, right? So be honest. Besides, God hates a false tongue. So number 6 is hands shedding innocent blood. So any hands that shed innocent blood, I have to give an example, which is abortion, because they're babies, they're innocent, they're completely blameless, they have no sin. And any hand that sheds these innocent blood is an abomination. Well, the act is an abomination, not the person. The next is the heart devising selfish things. So when you're actually desiring things and it's only for yourself, right? Actually, there's another interpretation to this. It's heart devising vanities, meaning I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And this is actually the biggest sin of today's consumerist society. We are actually taught, groomed to think, what do you want? Get what you want. And guess what? Don't you want this? Don't you want this? Don't you want this? Don't you want more? Don't you want more to make you feel good, etc., etc. When actually, the meaning of life and the happiness that we all seek is found in giving and loving. And that's the secret that they don't want you to know, because, well, I don't know who they is, but basically, that's the secret to life. Because the more you give, the more you are free of anxiety and worry, and the more you can actually live. Okay, so stop wanting and start living. Stop wanting and start giving. All right. So the ninth abomination we're going to talk about is a false witness who lies. Any person called upon the witness stand makes an oath before God to tell the truth, and so that justice would be served completely and honestly. But a person who has agreed or who says something that is false on the witness stand is, well, that act is an abomination to God. So if you have like, if you feel like, oh man, this is me or whatever, don't worry. Even the way God says it is, these are the things that they do, but the person is still a child of God. But the acts of haughty eyes and false tongues and hearts devising selfish things, these are actions that create the abomination, right? I mean, if the heart were to love what is good, then it's not an abomination anymore. If the same hands that caused innocent blood to be spilled were the same hands to love and give, then it stops being an abomination, and your hands start being a blessing, right? Okay, so choose to use your body to be a blessing, right? And of course, the next abomination is a creator of fighting among brothers. Of course, because um, we are called to be peacemakers, and we are called to allow people to get along together. But if somebody is causing animosity between brothers and sisters, then that is an abomination. That act of trying to create something bad to make people fight is an abomination. Next is lying with a man with a female. Oh, yeah, they just repeated that one. And another one is whatever replaces God in your heart. That is actually an abomination to God. Anything that can replace God in your heart is an abomination. So after he says those 7 things, though, the 6 abominations, which are haughty eyes, a false tongue, hands that shed blood, a heart devising selfish things, feet hastening to evil. Yeah, so that. Um, yes, even 7 abominations to his soul. Eyes high, tongues false, hands shedding innocent blood, a heart devising thoughts of vanity, feet hastening to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one sending forth contention between brethren. So those are abominations. What other things are abominations? Well, we have a lot of regulations for eating, but it's not actually the word abomination, it's the word sakis. So, eating those things is, God says, do not eat those things, count those things as disgusting, but it's not abomination in the sense. But he says, whatsoever goes upon your belly, and whatsoever goes upon the floor, or whatsoever moves and creeps, are an abomination to you. So another thing is to sacrifice to the Lord thy God any bull, sheep, which has blemish, or any evil, for that is an abomination to the Lord. Okay, so the interpretation of the blemish here is actually unrighteousness. In fact, it says any evil, it's actually ra dabar, which is evil speech. And if you think about it, how can a bull or a sheep have evil speech, right? Um, Basically, this might be referencing the messianic purpose of the whole burnt offering, and the offering of the great sacrifice. But anyway, that's for later. But basically, I don't think any bull can actually say bad words or have evil speech. So there, it actually refers to something deeper than that. A bull must be perfect and righteous in order to be sacrificed. So anyway, okay. Sorcery. This is one thing that is a complete abomination to God. It it says here in the Bible, let no one be found among you who sacrifices his son or daughter in the fire, practices divination or conjury, interprets omens, practices sorcery, casts spells, consults a medium of spirits, or inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is detestable or is an abomination to the Lord. So basically, God doesn't want us communing with these things. Why? Because they are lower spirits. They actually open you up to so many difficulties and troubles. They will not give you blessings that have no recompense. They will always have to give. They will take, and you don't know their true nature. So it's safer for you to always pray to God Almighty, to Jehovah, which is his name, and he said, call on me and I will help you and I will honor you. So just pray to Jehovah. Women who wear clothes for men is an abomination as well, because neither shall a man put on women's garment, for that all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. So you have to stop doing it in order for you to stop being an abomination. You can't cross dress. Why is that? because the way that God created men and women is actually the way God is. It's made in His image, and that man and woman is a complete balance, and we must honor that and honor ourselves and our nature by being who we are in truth. Okay, so another abomination is the hire of a whore or the price of a dog to be given to the house of God. So yeah, like if I were to sell my dog, I'm not allowed to put that money into tithes for God, because God doesn't like that. Also, right? Also, yeah, any money from whoredom. But in general, no daughter of Israel should be that. But of course, there are stories of Jerusalem falling into that, right? Anyway, thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord. Okay, so bringing that into the house is an abomination. Another thing is you are not another abomination is you are not allowed to take back an ex-wife after she has been defiled by someone else. So if you have divorced her, you cannot take her in again. When a man has taken a wife and married her, and it has come to pass that she finds no favor in his eyes because he has found some uncleanliness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it to her in hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hates her and writes her a bill of divorce and gives it in her hand and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband dies, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife after that she is defiled, for that is an abomination before the Lord. Deuteronomy 24, 1-4. Okay. Um, for me, I think it's just safety, because the fact that it didn't work the first time is already a huge sign. It's not just a sign, it's a huge practical um, book that explains why you should not go back to your ex-wife. That is like so clear. There have been reasons why you broke up, and those reasons will still be there when, if and when you try to get back together. Okay. Yeah, people change, but there are some things that just, plus also it's also for me it's disrespect against the matrimony, because you promised to be with someone and then you changed and then you went back again. I don't know, it seems flighty, seems bad for me and personally, and I do agree with God. Okay, so the next is an abomination is the work of an idol maker. So anything that man makes that's a graven image that people actually worship is an abomination to the Lord. And the work of his hands is complete abomination. That's Deuteronomy 27:15. Okay, another thing is going to worship other gods is expressly forbidden. Okay, so in Deuteronomy 17:4, I just want to emphasize how important that is. The punishment was death. That's how serious it was, because the community was based on God. And if God were to have his way, of course, we would recognize that there's one God. Okay, and that's how serious it is. Okay, so therefore, as surely as I live, declares the Lord, because you've defiled my sanctuary with all your detestable idols and abominations, I myself will withdraw my favor. I will not look upon you with pity, nor will I spare you. This was told to Israel, and the punishment for that was of defiling the sanctuary with idols and abominations was plague, bloodshed, and the sword. So it was very serious. But of course, Jerusalem had committed a lot of abominations, and God also chastises her It says here, furthermore, Samaria did not commit half the sins you did. You have multiplied your abominations beyond theirs, and all the abominations you have committed have made your sisters appear righteous. Jerusalem, and that was Jerusalem. And if you consider Jerusalem, it's supposed to be the city of peace, which is the perfect city, right? But it there is a point where Jerusalem really falls off the state of grace, right? So how would you be sorry if you aren't sorry? So let's just take a step back a moment and be like, what if I don't feel bad about these things? What if I don't feel guilty? How am I supposed to go back to God? Okay, so first let's try to understand conscience. Conscience is for me three things. It's natural, it's spiritual, and it's nurtured. And it's all those three things all at once. Just like a person's persona is natural or hereditary, like we get it from our parents. There are some certain genes that make us more susceptible to certain things and certain attitudes, certain ways that our brains have been made, and our natural IQ would predispose us to react in certain ways. But of course, there is also the nurtured influence, which means even if you have like a super high IQ, but if you're not exposed to the right books, or if you're not stimulated enough, then you're not going to grow as much as someone who would be, right? In another sense, if you do have a natural good conscience, but you grew up in a place that your parents laugh and are proud of you when you do something bad and they let you get away with it, then you're not going to have a great conscience, because it's going to be obfuscated or covered by how you were brought up. If you grew up in a place where they said it's important to be ruthless or to be mean, and that's how you grew up, you're gonna find it hard to naturally relate and be kind. But there is such a thing as the third aspect, which is the spiritual aspect. And that is that intrinsically, deep in us, God has embedded His Spirit in us, and He has made us in His image. And what this means is that we, at some level, know that this is good and this is bad. And we, at some level, always gravitate towards the good. Why is that? Because it's our natural essence to know good is good. Now, if you were groomed to kill, and then that was all you knew, but one day you saw kindness and mercy and love, you would be attracted to it, because you would know this is something good. No matter where or how you were raised, you would always know what's right. Now, there are some people who are so good at covering the guilt and the shame, because nobody likes to be guilted. Nobody likes the feeling that they're wrong. The natural predisposition would be to protect your ego and your identity and be like, I'm right, right? And so what happens is that your conscience gets covered up, and your soul makes ways for you to know that what you're doing is wrong. How? Certain things come out, like paranoia, like anxiety, like a sense of dread, like neuropathy. These sicknesses of the mind are almost all founded in some sort of guilt and shame. And here's the thing, you can feel guilt and shame for something that someone else did that you just witnessed, because you know in your heart that this is wrong. People who witness a murder feel guilt and shame. Why? They label it as post-traumatic stress disorder, and they have to recuperate. Why? Because evil is abhorrent to our souls. Deep inside, we hate evil. And so when we see it, we have to process it. We have to forgive ourselves for it. We have to, we have to actually um, protect our souls from the evil that we see and the evil that's been done and the evil that even just that we've just witnessed, right? And so um, because there are so many evil factors and people and doing evil things in the world, um, there there are so many people who have obfuscated their guilt, and the sinful don't know what makes them stumble. That's what the Bible says. They keep going for short-term rewards in order to mask that bad feeling in their soul, and the short-term rewards are actually missing the mark, because instead of going to God, saying sorry for their sins, clearing the evil from their hearts, what they do is they feel good with liquor or food or sex or money or being feeling important, right? So they all do these things sound familiar? These are all the seven deadly sins. So maybe liquor is an intoxication that can be associated with food and gluttony, because you try to feel good by what you put inside your body, right? Even substance abuse. Um, with sex, you try to feel good with that intimate connection, which is also a double sin, because it's supposed to be holy, it's supposed to be shared between a man and a woman in order to grow their relationship, but instead it's scattered abroad and you get connected to all these other people, which is bad. The next is money. So a lot of people feel good, feel important if they have lots of money. And so that becomes their one goal, and they're fixated on it to the point that they may do bad things in order to guarantee and assure themselves of that money. And that itself is also a sin. Now, the next is pride. Now, it's funny because pride can happen anywhere. You can be prideful for um, being a president or even being a teacher. Any person who seeks to prove that they're higher than another person is living under or feeding off pride. So it's actually even like people who, let's say that you do a good deed, right? Because for me, I want to do good deeds for God, but he doesn't allow me to bless people right now. And I realize that it's also a source of pride for me, that I want to be the one to give people. I want this. Aside from helping them, there is that tinge of pride. And so God cleared that from me. You see, it's a good deed. It's supposed to be something that you're proud of. But I still don't want that to be besmirched by me feeling like I'm better than anyone, because it has to be pure, right? So every time, um, you have to always guard your heart and see, why am I needing this, right? Like if I'm eating, am I really eating, or am I trying to fill loneliness in my heart with food, right? Oh, I'm gonna cry. Oh no, just kidding. No, I mean, like, is it really food that I want, or is it God, right? So you have to have your perfect heart, right? So envy. Okay, envy is you're aggrandizing another. You're seeing them as something great, right? But your desire is turned into anger because you don't have that. This is so easily rectified, because honestly, if you want something that somebody else has, you actually have the power to get it, but without harming that other person, because you have an equal right. You have to know that the universe works in abundance. Like in the Bible, it says God lets the sun shine on the wicked and the good, right? And if that's so, then for sure He gives rights to abundance for everyone as well. And so if you just want something from that someone has. It just means that you should try to use that as an inspiration instead of a point of envy. But it becomes envy because you're more aware of your lack of that thing rather than the possibility of you being able to get that thing. But if you knew that you were also capable to get that, then you wouldn't have envy, right? So the next is sloth. Now, sloth is akin to apathy. It's actually you giving up on the goals of life, which is, being engaged with activities and doing things. Your desire is to not engage. Why? Because either some people are scared to do things. Some people just have failed so many times that they just don't want to try anymore. Some people just don't find the reason to engage, and they feel safer, and their ego feels safer not doing anything. So these are just guesses that I'm guessing. People, maybe that's why people do that, but I'm not really sure. Sometimes it's also a form of self-sabotage. Like I said, right? If you feel guilty and you don't feel worthy, you're not gonna try because you believe that you're not really worthy to get the things that you desire. So that's also another thing. Okay, so all of these things are obfuscations of your heart because you're desiring this and that, and instead of just going to the source. Now, that's what sin is. Literally, it's missing the mark. It's not shooting into the target of where your happiness is, which is God. And I'd like to compare God and having a good relationship with God to be like being a cell phone that's always charged. I mean, without a good relationship with God, you can't function as well. You'll be lost. Nothing that you want to work would work. But if you always recharge with God and allow Him to be the Lord of your life, then everything just works better. And you yourself work better. And a lot of people don't have the well-formed conscience because they don't know the benefits of a relationship with God. I mean, not because it's a selfish thing, because it's just the first step to get you into the relationship with God. And once you're in that relationship, He's gonna teach you how to go out of yourself, to not be selfish, to care for people, to love people. Because God, let me tell you something, God is a real, distinct, objective reality outside of us. And that is what it means to believe in a God. That He exists out there. I know for sure because I've had visions that I didn't know what they meant. And later on, my Bible would explain it to me. And where would this come from? A God that loves me, a God that shows me every day which way to go. And He is a real distinct thing. I have prophesied successfully the typhoon Ondoy and Haiyan and the volcanic eruption of Taal and so many other things. But like, how would I know this? I wouldn't have any way to know it in the reality that we accept, right? But with a God, then everything becomes clear how I'm able to do these things. Um, the most powerful entity that ever existed in the universe is actually on your side. How great is that? And He's actually offering you His love. And He's saying, you are not just my creation, but you are my son, you are my daughter, you are my child. And this relationship is the charger to our cellular phones. It literally energizes every aspect of our person. And He will be the one to give you a better conscience. And He will teach you. First, it's like, well, there's like stages to a conscience. First, it's like, am I gonna get caught or not? That's the first rung, right? You're only sorry because you got caught. The next stage is you're sorry because you are gonna lose benefits to yourself. It's still selfish, right? The next stage is you're sorry because you affected other people's lives and you recognize that that person is just like you and me, right? When we are able to see from another person's perspective, that is the key to empathy and the key to um, contrition and to feeling bad for each other. A lot of people, I've read somewhere that it says hell is a place where you get to experience every feeling that you have caused on this earth. So if you've killed or if you've made people feel bad, then you're going to experience all of the things that you gave out. And then they said heaven is a place where you get to experience everything that you've made people feel on this earth, which is the same thing, right? But then if you've made them feel loved, if you've made them feel accepted, if you've helped them out, then it's going to be a great thing, right? So that's another a form of conscience, I guess, because uh, when I began, I just wanted to save my soul. But um, God, when I wanted to save my soul, the first step was hating evil and thinking of abominations as abominations, that they are truly unacceptable and they are truly bad. And I don't want them, right? I only want what's loving and good and understanding in my life. And when that happened, it was the first steps of just following God and having this peace in my own heart, right? So we actually, like all cell phones, we can't really last a long time outside without any charge. Sooner or later, we have to charge our cell phones. But a lot of people nowadays are living like zombies. They're just going through the motions of life, making money, surviving, blah, blah, blah. And then they feel this gaping hole inside them that is looking for a deeper meaning. That's what some people call midlife crisis, because that's how long it takes for them to say, I can't stand this anymore. I have to do something. Something has to change. But I'm telling you now, this is the secret. God is the secret to happiness. And when you have Him in your heart, that goodness will just radiate out. And that completeness, that peace will be with you for always. God is the best thing to ever happen. And He loves you and accepts you as you are now, even for any sin that you have. I'm not even going to make you feel sorry if you don't feel sorry, but I'm going to do something better. I'm going to dare you to just say one thing, okay? Just one thing, and that is, God, show me that you're real. God, show me your glory and your power and lead me to goodness. That's it, right? Because our true nature needs this. And I know you can feel me right now. I know there is a part of you that is just missing. Not that you're not happy. You can be happy. You can be happy. You can be sad. You can be happy and sad how many times in a day? I know this. But there is that deeper purpose, that deeper calling, that deeper search that just gnaws at us if we ignore it, right? That I'm asking you to listen to that part of you that actually needs a God, that actually wants to say, okay, let's try this. Okay? Our true nature is blemish free. And as you are now, you are already perfect as you are. This is the truth. And the world has lied to us and said, no, you're not worthy, you're blah, you're like this, you're like this. So many negative things. But the truth is that you're already enough as you are. And you just have to look to the light and see the truth of your reflection in God's eyes. And that you are a child of God. You are loved and you are loving. You are perfect and pure. So I challenge you now to just say, God, show me who you are. Show me your face in real life or in my life, and I will leave my sins and my abominations behind. Just like I dare you to just be like, God, show me who you are. That's it. God, show me who you are. That's 6 words. 6 words. God, show me who you are. That's it. Boom. And God will form your heart. God will help you to be sanctified. God will guide you every day. And you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that He is a 100%, how do you say, living, breathing, objective reality outside you. And so this is my blessing for all who pray this prayer right now, that you would actually see God work in your life, and that you would be able to have the strength and the clarity to see the lies of the devil and to break down those lies, and to recognize yourself as blemish free, as good, as pure, as absolutely amazing, as loved and loving. And I pray for this Yom Kippur, I pray that anyone who is watching this now and always would have the answer that they need from God. That they would know that God exists and that He is loving and good and He is for you as well. So be blessed and happy Yom Kippur.